Oopsie.
Did you press
Get
it?
rid of that. Yeah, but I don't think it did anything. Oh, it is broadcasting, right?
Yes.
It is now broadcasting. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So what do you see on my screen? Do you see everything or just...
I see where it says push reset to 2020, close more sales deals on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay, let me make it presenter view. Okay.
Wonderful.
And then I can't, oh yeah, I do see my little head there. And then I can't see who's attending or not attending, right? And I can't
Yeah,
see the Q&A.
yeah, the attendees will be, so the questions will come through the chat. Okay.
I don't see the chat for whatever reason, but I always have this issue. I'm going to stop screen sharing real quick. Q&A. Okay, there's nothing there. All right, whatever. I'll let you take care of that. But it looks like there's 5 participants.
3 attendees. Hi, everyone. How are you doing today? I see Heather Millward, Marisa Talbert, Patrick Kincaid. Good afternoon. We're going into the second half of the first day. Awesome. Wonderful. So, before we begin, I want to say thank you for everyone that's joined and just, keeping track with us. I like to introduce a good colleague of mine, Mary Burhani. She is the CEO of MCS Consulting Group. And Mary, I will let you take it away.
Okay, awesome. I hope you guys are not fatigued by the time you got to me, but I'm super excited to talk about my favorite subject, which is LinkedIn. So I'll start off by introducing myself. Just a little note, if you guys have any questions, I will address them at the end of the presentation, just because with the view, I can't really see your comments until the end. But yeah, so a little bit about myself. My name is Mary Burhani. I'm the owner of Mary Consulting Services. So we provide sales as well as social media marketing consulting. So I work with small to mid-sized companies throughout California for the most part, but willing to expand. I have about 12,000 LinkedIn followers, and so that's the reason why Elizabeth has reached out to me to talk to you guys about my experience and how I was able to optimize my profile to get such a large following. So a brief history of how I got involved with sales. I started off back in 2015 as an entry-level sales rep and was really struggling to target the decision makers because I was using an old method called cold calling. So, calling 75 companies a day and realizing that, they weren't, decision maker wasn't answering the phone, or the assistant was kind of blocking me from reaching the decision maker. So I found the loophole, which is LinkedIn, and contacted the decision maker directly. So doing that, I was able to close over $1 million in products and services, 100% from LinkedIn. And so I'll talk to you guys about that. So I've been working with companies like Pop Chips, Pacific Premier Bank, San Diego Girl Scouts, was able to be pretty successful in my career. Of course, now I'm doing consulting services. So went to UCLA for undergrad, got my BA in psychology, and then went on to get my master's in public health at UCLA. And then I came back to San Diego back in 2013 and got my MBA degree from San Diego State in 2015. All right, so enough about me. Let's get into the good stuff. So for today's agenda, I'll give you a brief overview of LinkedIn and why it's important, and then I'll walk you through 4 steps of how to optimize your LinkedIn profile. And then, like I said, we'll close off with a Q&A at the end. So for the purposes of today's series, so again, this is a 3-part series. This is part 1. Tomorrow you can join me for part 2 and 3. Part 2, we'll talk about Sales Navigator, and part 3, we'll loop it in, wrap up the whole thing together. But today, I'm just going to talk to you about how to optimize your profile to stand out and hopefully close a ton of deals. So about LinkedIn, LinkedIn has more than 690 million active users. If you're not on it today or using it on a daily basis, I would highly recommend that, because LinkedIn is voted the most trusted network compared to Facebook and Instagram. What does that mean for you? Well, 4 out of 5 LinkedIn members drive business decisions at their companies, and you're able to, piggyback off of the goodwill of LinkedIn when you're targeting those decision makers. So I personally like LinkedIn for building my brand, and I'll talk to you guys more about why that's important, of how you could build your brand on LinkedIn. But the reason why most people use it is to grow their network, gain exposure to hiring managers, and then generate leads and increase revenue if you are a sales professional or a business owner looking to connect with folks to expand your business. So today I'm going to walk you through 4 easy steps to optimize your LinkedIn profile. And before we begin, I always like to start with the goal in mind, because you could kind of get lost with all the fads that are out there in terms of, what are the influencers doing? Am I trying to be an influencer? Wait, am I trying to get a job? So just be very specific about what your goal is. Possible goal ideas would be, you're just trying to grow your followers and building a community. Maybe you're on LinkedIn for job opportunities. That's going to be a completely different LinkedIn strategy than doing it to close more deals. Or maybe you're trying to be a thought leader or influencer. And so these are just a couple of ideas of, what potential goals you might have before you go on LinkedIn. Okay. So I just started off with like a basic, if you don't have the LinkedIn app, I do recommend for you to download it. That way you could get more connecting time with folks. It's a lot easier than the desktop version as well. This is important because I'll talk to you guys about posting videos. And so if you're on the go, you might want to just download the app. And so LinkedIn, the basic profile service is free. On part 2, I'll talk to you about Sales Navigator. That one is a paid option. So again, there's a Sales Navigator app as well for that. But for today, we're just talking about LinkedIn and how to optimize your profile. So step 1 was have the goal in mind. Step 2 was to build your profile. So I just used my profile as an example, just because talking high level concept might be a bit tricky if you're not on the profile, but you want to go ahead and create some kind of header or a banner on your LinkedIn profile. This is important because this is prime real estate for you to advertise your services. If you don't have a business, I would just put something on the banner that emphasizes your brand or what type of image you're trying to exude. I include my handles right there. So at Mary Consulting Services, if you search for me, you'll find my Facebook, my LinkedIn, obviously my Instagram, and then I went ahead and put in my website right there. So I recommend doing that. Since when you're connecting with folks, that's the first thing they're going to look at is your profile. And then definitely invest in a professional headshot. Make sure your photo is facing forward, not the side. Selfies, try to stay away from that if you can with the profile picture. But of course, if it's tastefully done, that's fine as well if you're really limited on a headshot. I also like to add a headline. So the reason why this is important, if you can see, I list off my followers numbers just because LinkedIn is a little bit different than Instagram and Facebook. You're not really going to get your follower count up there. I do that to build credibility of who I am. And then I put a couple of words that are searchable, like sales or social media marketing. And then I'll use the headline to promote upcoming initiatives or events that I'm doing. So I'm the founder of MCS Empowerment Coalition for Leaders of Color. So I like to put that on my headline. And then I'm also part of a business accelerator program. So I just wanted to tag that so folks could know what I'm up to, again, with the goal in mind of building credibility. So if you click that search feature right here and type sales or social media marketing, you'll actually pull up a whole bunch of profiles with their headers. So I just mentioned that just to say that your headline is searchable. So make sure you go ahead and update that. Everything on your LinkedIn profile, you could go ahead and edit it using these buttons. So these little edit pencil button. So for me, if there's a prompt on LinkedIn that's telling me, hey, you need to update this to optimize your profile, I go ahead and use those features just because I think it does increase your rankings on LinkedIn. So you don't want an incomplete profile. And then something I like with this button, you could actually record your name so that folks could know how to pronounce your name. So with me, Mary Burhani, just another way. So again, there's no barriers of connecting with me. So that's, step 2. So now I want to talk to you about the About section. So your About section, again, is prime real estate. I see a lot of profiles that are usually empty at this section. So again, with your goal in mind, my goal in mind is obviously to promote my company and what I'm up to. So I'm using this space to promote my business. So, but I also like to include my background. So if you guys are looking for a job, that's something I would use. So my background is used for something general about myself so that they know who I am, where it doesn't feel too salesy. And then so something that I noted is make sure you brand yourself and not your company. This is important because I realized when when I was doing this, I would promote a lot of the companies that I worked for. And so, I would post the email address of the companies, and then I didn't realize, like, hey, when you move to the next job and the next job, those videos are going to follow you around. So if I were you, I would create like an email address that you're going to keep, and then use that to promote your whatever initiatives that you're up to. So you could kind of retain that. You don't want to confuse your audience with too many different companies. The cool part, I was working IT for about 5 years. So, people kind of already knew Mary IT, Mary Cybersecurity Services. So that didn't hurt me too much, but just wanted to throw that out there as well. And then another point that I wanted to say is there's a feature of LinkedIn called Featured. So it's right below your that About You section. So this is the space where you could actually, if you hit this plus button right here, it would lead to these. So you could actually tag posts that you want featured on your LinkedIn profile, as well as articles, links, and then you could upload photos. So that's pretty much what I did. I kind of look at my posts on LinkedIn, and then I pick like the top posts or whatever I'm working on to highlight that. So right now, if you look at my LinkedIn profile today, you probably see Career Mingle being featured here. But pretty much I just want the top few posts. So if someone is connecting with me, they kind of get the gist of who I am and what I'm up to. So that's all for that piece. In terms of, so another question that I usually get when I'm working with people or just running into them is like, hey, I don't know where your posts are. I'm on your profile. I can't really find your event. So it's usually featured in that activity section. So if you press see all, that's when you'll see someone's full post. So again, it's different than like Instagram and Facebook where, you go on the home page and then you see someone's posts. Here, you kind of have to do a little bit of digging. So just keep that in mind. And then if you want to see how many followers someone has, it's featured right there. And then the reason why I also wanted to show you this activity section is that your comments are viewable and your activities are viewable unless you go to settings and make that private. So that might be important if you are, looking for jobs and you're liking things that you might think an employer may or may not like. That might be handy for that. But for me, I leave mine public. And so again, you get to see what I'm up to on my home page as well as my activity section here. So now I want to talk about the experience section. So for your experience section, I recommend highlighting, obviously your top few experiences. Don't go too deep into every job that you've had, but maybe like the top 4 or 5 different jobs, and mention, why what you did in those roles, how you were successful. And then I like adding media into each job. So I'll add like an article that I was featured in. And again, that helps build credibility. Okay, so this piece, the reason why I brought this up is when you're adding a new job, something that I realize is a lot of people do not hit this button, which says share with my network. So I recommend if you are adding a new job that you go ahead and notify your network that you have a new job. And so a lot of people kind of don't want to do that and, want to just feature the job in private, but really that's an opportunity for your network to get notified. And for me, whenever I change a job, I literally get hundreds of messages on LinkedIn with folks congratulating me on the new job or asking how the new role is going. I know there's different types of viewership on LinkedIn. There's some folks that are super active and want to share everything. And then there's people that are a little bit more private. If you're that private person, sharing with your network that you have a new job is the best way to get people to engage with you if you're not comfortable with reaching out to folks. Okay, and then in terms of your education, this is some of this stuff is basic, but pretty much, add your education, include any associations that you're a member of. Again, adding media links. This was when I was at UCLA getting my public health degree. I was featured in a news article with someone helping with like reentry work, and so I included that media article. And then I received a fellowship, and so I added that that link as well. And so this is the time where pretty much you can brag about yourself. So go ahead and add as many cool features about yourself. This is all going to tie with part 2 of this series. But the reason for this is now when you're connecting with people, they'll know who you are. They feel like they kind of trust you. You're kind of an open book. So when you do message them or do try to reach out to them, they'll most likely connect with you. And so almost 90% of the connections that I send out, they actually connect with me. And I think it's because of this reason, because I'm posting, they see who I'm connected to. And then, I don't know, it just builds that trust there. So volunteer experience, I feel like this is underrated. So a lot of people don't put their volunteer experience on LinkedIn. This is a great talking point. I've had people go, whoa, yeah, I'm part of and I'm talking about executives where I'm doing business deals with, and they'll go, oh, I see, you're part of the Rock Church, or I see you volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club. And it just presents an additional talking point. And again, at this point, I'm really talking about your profile, but try to get in the habit of when you're looking at other people's LinkedIn profile that you make a point to mention these things about like their volunteer experience, or, oh, I noticed you went to San Diego State. I'm an Aztec too. I've had conversations and deals come out of the fact that I went to SDSU for grad school and things like that. So again, that trust factor and community, this is like the best place to do it. In terms of your skills and endorsement, I like to include maybe like your top 3 skills. Early on, I used to put all of my skills and try to get as many endorsements of those skills. But I think you end up splitting your skill set. So you'll get like right now I have 97 endorsements of leadership, but then I'll have like one person endorse me for, I don't know, some minor skill that I threw in there. Like maybe you threw in Microsoft Word. Try not to do those low hanging skills as an option, but do the skills that you want to be endorsed for and known for. So for me, it would be leadership, sales. If I have to check if I put in social media, but social media, and of course, business development for me. So I put a note that said, again, please reference your goals before you start adding different skill sets. Like just be sure, you're not just doing things to do things, that you're following your goal and having a plan with that goal. Okay, so in terms of recommendations and accomplishments, so this is your opportunity, again, to build that credibility. The way to get people to actually, recommend you for something is to actually recommend them for something as well. So I try to give as much as I receive. So try to, look at your network and figure out like, who would be great prospects to recommend you. Usually while you're working at a job is the best place, right? After you do something great for someone, or while you're at the job, because later when you leave the job, it's a little bit more difficult to ask for a recommendation, just because either they're busy or they forgot about it. So the recommendation section is huge. Accomplishments, again, just fill out the rest of your LinkedIn profile. That's pretty much the goal. You want to complete it all. I don't know how many people are actually reading through till the last bit of your LinkedIn profile, but the stuff that I mentioned at the top, they for sure look at that. So make sure you do the first pieces that we talked about, and then your featured section. Okay, great. So now you optimize your whole LinkedIn profile. It might seem tedious. I'm always updating my profile. I'll take a look at it and go, oh my gosh, the headline's looking a little overwhelming. And so I would go back and edit it. And I try different things to freshen it up. So I do recommend doing that. But after you get everything optimized, the next goal is to really connect with folks that hit your connection goals. So you want to ask yourself, okay, what's my connection goal? Am I just connecting with everyone just to connect with people and get followers? Or am I connecting with, strategic executives, maybe CEOs, COOs, and if you're in the IT field, you're probably connecting with CIOs and IT directors. So just figure out what that goal is in mind before you start connecting. And then like for me, my connection goals would be executives, but I'm also open to connecting with other folks, especially in the sales world, so sales professionals. Okay, great. So I just wanted to list off with these tools and resources in terms of helping you connect with folks. Sales Navigator is something where you could build lists, you could filter your list, and then start targeting the proper decision makers, because there's just so many connections on LinkedIn. So Sales Navigator, you could really dial into who your decision maker is and start connecting with them. A feature that I discovered kind of late in the game was finding folks near you. So the Find Nearby feature, it's on your app. It's this plus sign. It's very hard to see actually, but if you download the app and you hit that blue button, that's how you could find people near you. So the next time, when this COVID thing is behind us and we're in large conference rooms and we want to mass connect with folks in the room, we can now do that by hitting that Find Nearby feature instead of walking, right next to someone and asking them to connect with you. And then I like the QR code as well. So this will help you scan your profile. So if you have a pretty common name, like John Smith or something, you'll see it's really hard to find you. So a simple way to connect is through the QR code. And then I just wanted to outline what are like for me, the benefit of connecting with people on LinkedIn. You know, I connected with someone from Netflix. He was in the cybersecurity department and made a connection on LinkedIn. So the next time that I actually was in the LA area, I was able to get a whole Netflix studio tour. So he, you know, put me on the list, my car, got the clearance and everything, and then came in and got a tour of everything. And so that was like a super cool experience. And it was from being open enough to connect with someone on LinkedIn via the messaging feature. And then when I was in town, I was like, hey, I know you mentioned I could get a tour the next time I'm in the area. And so all of that was arranged, and I was able to make a great connection and actually made a LinkedIn video with that contact. But before I also wanted to touch on what are the differences between like the first degree, second degree, and third degree connections. Well, on LinkedIn, if someone connects with you, they're considered a first degree connection. That means you could start messaging them on LinkedIn. And so, you know, that's great. But what if they're a second degree connection? Well, if they're a second degree connection, you could see their profile, but you can't send them a direct message without either sending them an in-mail through Sales Navigator. So again, I'll touch on why that's important, but Sales Navigator is kind of the loophole. Now they don't need to connect with you. You can send them a direct message. But your first degree and second degree connections are important because the more people you connect with, the bigger your network is on LinkedIn. So I know there's some people that don't want to connect with everyone, but that helps you get closer to your decision maker, because when you get to around the third degree connection, I believe you're not even able to see like their last name thoroughly. But again, back to your goals and why you're connecting with folks, but just wanted to emphasize that that's how LinkedIn works. The more people you connect with, the more you could access other people's networks as well. So I have 12,000 followers. So if you connect with me, my followers end up being your second degree connection. Okay, so now step 4, you know, you've optimized, you've connected with a couple of people on LinkedIn. Now you need to start posting and engaging. And for me, I like following what others are up to, and that's how I got that Netflix tour, is by engaging in his post, whatever he was posting about at the time. This was like over a year ago. And so in terms of posting, there's data that shows that the most engaging LinkedIn posts are published on Wednesdays between 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then also at 12 p.m. So Thursdays also work, and Fridays. For me, I'm not super cookie cutter. So what I do is I actually post at 6 a.m. because I realize that some of my connections could be, I'm in, you know, Pacific time. So there's people in the East Coast. So I pay attention to that kind of thing. So I try to post as early as possible. And if I don't make that cutoff, I'm still posting. So I'm not really tied to these metrics right here, but at least this gives you a standard to know, okay, these are great windows to start posting. You know, Mondays, people might be busy, so that's why it might not be the best time to post. And so Fridays, the later in the day, you know, maybe people are on vacation and they don't want to be on their LinkedIn. Because of COVID, a lot more people are at home, and I've noticed a lot more people are engaging on LinkedIn. So this might be a great time, you know, to push reset, as this webinar is titled. But you know, you pretty much want to use this time to connect with people while they're a bit more engaged with being online. There's not much to do, so you do have an audience that is more attentive. So use this time to connect with people, learn how they are doing during this time period, and then once things get a little bit better and their buying decisions are rolling as easily as it was pre-COVID, you know, you're setting up the foundation to make those connections later. So one thing I did want to mention about posting is just be cautious in terms of the Black Lives Matter movement. So it's so crazy because you start, posting this content that you truly believe in, and then you realize, wait, hold on, there's other people with different viewpoints. So I would just be cautious about posting content that will be deemed not necessarily negative. It's just like, feel free to post, but I would stay away from commenting, because I've seen people try to loop me into conversations, and then next thing you know, it's like ding, 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 like all these messages are happening, and you're like, oh boy, just because I, put a thumbs up on something, and all of a sudden you're getting all these notifications. So I did want to just caution that, and especially since right now there's just a lot of I think just a lot of friction. And then, so I've seen people go, I'm going to contact your employer for doing this. And so if you're not self-employed, that might end up having a backlash. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, so back to your posting schedule. So the best content to post is actually videos. So LinkedIn really rewards you for posting native content as well. So you don't want to post YouTube videos. You want to post video content that you created. So I do have a couple stats. 80% of people between 45 to 64 prefer video content. So any chance you get, try to go with the video first. Obviously, we're strapped on time. A video could take a little bit longer to edit. So I do suggest photos next if you can't make a video, and then of course some kind of meme for your photos, and then text would be the worst case. But I've seen a couple of influencers, especially sales influencers with over 15,000 followers, and sometimes they'll post strictly text content, and that seems to be working for them. But again, we don't know if they would have posted video content, maybe their engagement rate would have been a lot higher. But I think at that point, if you could get really good, valuable content where you're helping your network, the text is okay, but try to steer towards the video content. So some tools to help with that video content or just posting in general, I would suggest Hootsuite. If you haven't used Hootsuite yet, you could actually start building all of your posts ahead of time on Hootsuite, and then you could schedule them out. So maybe you choose Sundays as your, your day to schedule a week worth of posts or a month worth of posts, and then it'll go ahead and post on your LinkedIn on your behalf. So if you look at my LinkedIn business page, that's exactly how I do that. Something else is for your memes and your banners, I use Canva. I also use WordSwag as well. And then when I was posting my video content, I had a goal, I think this was like last year, where I had to post 1 video a day. And so that was a great exercise, which really got me comfortable with being in front of the camera. And so I used InShot for that. Clips was great because Clips allowed me to put subtitles, but I was struggling with, it just took a lot of work with the subtitles. So I simplified my life a little bit by just focusing on InShot. I would be, if you guys have a couple seconds now, would love to hear the different tools you guys are using, and then we could chat about it at the end for the Q&A. Okay, great. So now in summary, so I talked to you guys about setting a goal before you set up your LinkedIn profile. I talked to you about how to optimize your profile, and why to connect and why to connect often. And then I talked to you a little bit about posting and how to get your engagements up. I have stories tied to like posting and engagement on webinar 3. So if you have a chance, do see me tomorrow when I'll do webinar 3. And then of course, step 5 was, this is how you, at the end of the day, you're doing all this stuff to grow followers, build credibility. And that concludes the content piece of this presentation. And so if you want to reach me, or if you have additional questions for me, you could reach me via email at mary@maryconsultingservices.com. And it's MERI for Mary. And then you could also purchase, if you want to learn more, I have digital courses on my website that you can go ahead and purchase that directly if you want more content like this. And then I do have an event coming up on October 21st, MCS Empowerment Coalition for Leaders of Color. And so that organization is an arm of Mary Consulting Services, a community service arm. And so we get leaders of color together, and then we share resources, referrals, job opportunities. And so the event on October 21st is actually an entrepreneurship panel. So we'll have guest speakers coming, talking about their entrepreneurial journey. And so those events are every Wednesday of the month, every third Wednesday of the month. And that's a free event. And so we do these events for free, these workshops for free. And if you want to go ahead and view my website, you can at maryconsultingservices.com. But that's enough of that. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, so now I'm looking at the chat just to see a couple of questions. Okay, Patrick says, great presentation. Regarding the posting times, are you using an app like Buffer to do these automatically? Perhaps I missed this, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, so it looks like he's going to run to another meeting. But no, I am not using Buffer. I am using Hootsuite and scheduling it within those posting times. So that's how I'm doing that. Are there any other questions? Okay, Heather says, do you feel LinkedIn, it's important to focus only on business and professional, or sprinkle in personal? Great question. So I like personal. So that's what I realized. I realized that especially in Heather, I'm not sure if you're using LinkedIn for a job or growing followers or building your brand, but I've learned that people want to do business with people that they trust. And I've realized, like, coming off like, hey, all professional, all business, all salesy, people don't really want to connect with someone like that 24/7. They kind of want to see, like, your family photo on vacation. I've posted, workout videos and gotten great reviews via the messaging feature, where I'm like, I'm not a great workout person, but someone messaged me going, Mary, thank you so much for posting that video. It reminded me to, get out of the office and start working out again. And so you never know, like, what people will connect with. So in the beginning, I really recommend experimenting. So I always like to lead with what you're passionate about. So if you're passionate about, like for me, entrepreneurship, faith, people of color, that's usually the content that I'm posting. But in the beginning, when I was doing that 1-year challenge of posting a video every day, I just tried everything. So it was from videos of me and my coworkers, to me going out in the field, servicing my clients, to posting about a trip that I did in Cuba. And so so I would recommend sprinkling your personal as well. Okay, and if there's no other questions, I think this completes the meeting. So thank you for your time.
Mary, thank you so much. That was really, really, really good. And I'm glad that you gave some really good tips on how to amp up your LinkedIn. I'm definitely going to use some of those. And Heather, thank you for that question, because that's one thing that I kind of struggle with, is like, should I be posting like personal stuff on LinkedIn versus, just keeping it business and super professional? But I think, some people like to see your personality, your day-to-day, and I think that breaks down barriers of like wanting to do business in the future.
100%. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Mary, you gave segue to your next session tomorrow, right?
Yeah, so my next session is tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. for part 2. And then part 3 will be at 3 p.m. Pacific time.
Awesome. Great. And I will be on both of those calls. I look forward to learning more.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.